Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the former world champion Terran in the red. It's Micro Jackson, ByuN, facing off against his longtime rival, the world champion himself, the Zerg in the blue. We have Rogue in a best of 3 Zerg versus Terran showdown, part of Wardy's Monday StarCraft 2 tournament. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, or maybe even subscribe. And we got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Yeah, it's the new hot fix. It's 1,880 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the Reaper jumps in and confirms that Rogue's not being particularly greedy, that he's not trying to expand too quickly, that he's not trying to do early aggression. Unlike ByuN, who has a 3rd command center in production. Now, that's not necessarily a rare case for ByuN in the last 16 years of his StarCraft 2 career to get 3 command centers in the early game. But now that the command center is only 300 minerals, that makes it the cheapest base in the game. No, not metaphorically. As in order to build a hatchery, of course, you must promote a drone. Of course, it's a lifelong appointment as a hatchery. So that 50 mineral drone is gone, making the effective cost of the hatchery 300. Yeah, we raised it with a new patch. So the command center, now the cheapest base in the game. Certainly a dramatic change to every matchup involving Terran, which is most of them nowadays. So we will see what the implications of this change are. I'm sure clearly both players are aware. Now, the thing for Zerg is there's no way to scout it. Unlike Queens, the command center can fly, which means you can build it within your base. Sure, you might have an audience of moopies there enjoying the Nova portrait in the corner. We'll just say that's what they're doing. Anyways, who doesn't? But there is no reliable way to get a Zergling in, to get an Overlord in position. I'd be like, well, it's right at the edge of the base. But if you build it a little deeper, and you send the Overlord to the side, it's just not a reliable thing. So if you go for early aggression like a Roach Warren or a Baneling Bust, and they just aren't expanding to a 3rd, you will lose. Quite hard. Whereas a better option that Zerg players have been relying on is just try to match them macro for macro. Hope that you can grab enough of the map before they start expanding so aggressively, which is the same strategy as we saw a week ago, or a month ago, or 2 months ago before any of this patch madness began. But continues to be, as Zerg is quite lacking in options for early aggression, despite the whole Zerg rush brouhaha that it's better known for. So, a not surprising strategy from ByuN is the long story made medium. Double engineering bay, enough Marines to potentially threaten across the map. And Rogue kind of has to hedge his bets. He's at 48 drones. That gives ByuN, well, you can see the Mule Canyon dug into the income gap here. But now as Rogue is mining from 3 bases a little more regularly, ByuN has several idle SCVs, not to judge, but a little bit of judgment. 8 layers on the way, +1 Carapace is the choice for Rogue. 1-1 upgrades just began for ByuN, but a bunch of dudes with drugs and guns are on their way across the map. And yes, this could have described most Terran strategies for the last 500 years, but it's also describing this one. He's going to try to bring down the Queens, which is a little more narrow historical range, but not by much. The Queens, well, they have the creep. There's plenty of transfuse replacing those creep tumors constantly. As ByuN right on the edge of it. It's just too risky. But he forces Rogue to build Zerglings, which, now this is true. Zerglings are not drones. So 56 to 55 workers. Rogue trying to fill in some of the gaps. The 3rd command center will land as ByuN continues to build up his production. Rogue worked his way towards the lair. He has a Baneling nest with speed and another evolution chamber. I wonder if he's actually walling off drops. So I feel like this could backfire hard. ByuN certainly known for his base drops, arguably more than some dubstep artists. And whatever happened to that? Maybe I just stopped listening to music because I'm old. Didn't they used to make good music? Anyways, how's the back pain, Grandpa? I don't... Apologies. 3 hatcheries on the way for Rogue, not to be outdone. He's got a macro hatch, an alternative 4th, and probably the one he's more committed to the north. But ByuN, he's got Marines, he's got Medevacs, he's going to have the double upgrades. The armory's already complete, so he can follow it up with 2-2 as well. Both players exactly 66 workers. Rogue adding a few more on. Hydra Den is on the way, but this is a precarious timing. Most importantly for Rogue, he's going to have Baneling speed momentarily, and his creep spread is already looking pretty good. A couple Zergling counterattack, anything to get ByuN to turn around. Every second counts here. As Rogue is trying to build up that critical mass of units that ByuN can't even pretend to micro against. But instead, well, the Queens will rebuff it for now. Oh yes, the Widow Mine also fires more quickly. You know, there's so many different patches and hotfixes now that are all layered on top of each other. But the Widow Mine fires 20% faster. The Ghost is now 2 supply, and it has more base damage and more range. But Snipe costs more energy, but can't be interrupted. I feel like that's going to become relevant as we're hurtling towards the late game so quickly. A 4th command center already on the way for ByuN, but of course Rogue has 4 or 5 bases with 77 drones. The income swinging back and forth at the drop of the mules. The Widow Mine's burrowing down, not taken out in time. Thins it out. Oh no, the Queens off of creep will be slaughtered one after another. A full King Henry of Queens is brought low in seconds. And the Stims are just cutting through everything. ByuN is on top of the natural already. The Banelings are rolling. ByuN, what have you done? ByuN trying to make it a little more sporting. He runs into the Banelings. A move command at the last second will maximize the potential damage. And that becomes a ByuN mitigated disaster. It went from a potential game-winning position to an advertisement for why you should actually build Banelings sometimes. In about half a second. You know, that's kind of the story of Banelings, but ideally, as they finish and immediately explode, which, you know, you can't be judged for that, but some people might be disappointed. Speaking of Banelings, Lings and Banes rolling through the 3rd base. The Banelings are just, the SCVs trapped in a prison of their own design. The supply depot's helping wall them in, but ByuN just, it seems like he had no reaction. Once again, caught off guard by the most inevitable follow-up. And he's gone from a 30 supply lead to about even. Of course, there are plenty more Marines in production. The Widow Mine, a big hit. The Banelings roll right through. ByuN over to the right side. Rogue doing a great job of keeping ByuN busy. Otherwise, it'd be unstoppable. The 2-2 upgrades are on the way. Rogue is at 1-2 with +1 ranged attack. ByuN, despite the losses, still has a solid army supply, and with those upgrades progressing. But Rogue, well, he might not be able to outright end the game, as attacking into a Terran is a costly endeavor. It's a lot less costly if you have a tech advantage, like lurkers with range. The Hive begins. ByuN clearing up the creep over to the right side. Rogue. Okay, Rogue is the most efficient Zerg in the game, by the way. In case you don't know, he's actually glacial. 380 APM? What, is he asleep? For comparison, Cyril usually has 450 to 500. Solar and Raynor are usually over 500 easily. Scarlet 600 as well. But Rogue just seems to get so much done with so relatively little. ByuN's at 400 APM. I'm not saying that all that APM from those players is efficient. What I'm saying is Rogue's is. So, something to point out. That he just seems to know where... Like this. Look at this. Look. The Zerglings burrowed beneath. Not Banelings. Again, Banelings, one and done. But these Zerglings are potentially forever. As for the near future, is there any chance he builds a missile turret or something? No. The Widow Mines, they don't discriminate. The collateral damage is excruciating. And now back at home, he might be building a fleet beacon. Nope, that'd be impressive. A fusion core. 3 more command centers are on the way. The medevacs are full of units and will be picked off. No, the ones that get taken out, thankfully, did not have them. But ByuN is scrambling back, and Rogue is completely crushing him on the field. Lurkers with range in production. ByuN with 3 more command centers. And Rogue doing... Wow, he knows the map is dark. And full of Terrans. And these burrowed Zerglings are... So, both Rogue and ByuN have gotten units nerfed. Directly. And I will credit them directly. Even though the patch notes didn't technically say it. ByuN got the Reaper nerfed twice. In around 2016. Rogue got the Overseer and Changelings nerfed last month. So now, Changelings' deaths, it's described as contagious. When a Changeling dies, all the Changelings within a small radius also die. Which is a direct response to Rogue and his mass Overseer strategy. And 100% that is Rogue's fault. As other players were using it, but Rogue seemed to be the only one who could use the Mass Overseer. So, now, still Changelings can be effective. The idea... ByuN is... No, he didn't... He thought they were Changelings, truly. He wasn't just trying to free up supply for Liberators. Absolutely not. They were traitors in our midst. Alright. That's what they're telling each other. Rogue... I love these Zerglings so much. I love them so much. Not only is it vision... But now we don't have to watch Zerglings die. I'm totally unbiased. Meanwhile, the drop in the back, gonna cover for the attack at the front, but Rogue knows this is a feint at best. He knows that the army's moving across with his ranks of Zerglings burrowed underneath. Another advertisement for Ravens out there, and, well, the Banelings again get terrible, terrible damage, and ByuN is beaten back as Rogue... Yet again, with a decisive victory on the field. Most notably, only now starting a Ghost Academy is ByuN. Despite the threat... Well, has he even seen a Lurker? I believe he did. Until there are Lurkers, Ghosts, despite costing less supply, the best counter to Ghosts is having units that they don't want to snipe. So Hydras, Lings, and Banes, units that are of similar cost or less, can easily overwhelm Ghosts. Which is why I think it's justifiable to delay the Ghost Academy for quite a while. But as soon as you see any Lurkers, or even any Vipers or Infestors especially, well, those are Ghostbusters right there. I don't... Or rather, the other way around. That didn't make any sense. I just wanted to make the joke. Anyways, Jimmy, edit that out. High-sec auto-tracking, advanced ballistics, multiple orbital commands. More CCs than the email chain that incredulously asked about the patch notes. The Banelings are just bashing right through. Building armor not going to help very much. But a Venn diagram of freedom overhead, immediately pin-cushioned by the Hydras. The Hydras, Lings, and Banes will try to break through, and ByuN will hold them off for now. 3 Vipers in production. These Zerglings, these beautiful, beautiful Zerglings with their heads in the space station, or wherever we are. I think it's like some sort of island platform. Those Zerglings are the most valuable Zerglings in the entire game. Not the several hundred lost, but the 2 Zerglings burrowed underneath that ByuN has not even thought to scan. I don't know if he's noticed any burrowed lings besides the ones obviously beneath his command centers. There's a Nidus in the back. He's still getting vision somehow. The Ghosts are joined into the composition. Widowmine racks up some kills at the front. Rogue has ground out quite an income lead after he bashed through that command center. He's mining on most of the bases on his side of the map. A Widowmine will tap the Lurker on the way across. Not sure if ByuN has a response directly. But 4 more command centers on the way. He's got 9. That's going to be... The CCPM is getting absolutely obscene. He's going to have more scans than a Costco checkout aisle on a Friday afternoon. You know, you know. And, well, and more mules than a well-stocked stable. You put mules in stables, right? I don't get it. It's a good joke. Please like and subscribe. So I am absolutely loving this. Rogue is already finding a way to supplement that vision. And not just with the Changelings that are still constantly scattering the field. He has 9 Overseers, which is about 30 less than we were seeing some months ago. Though, usually it was more like 20 to 25 overseers. Still a redonkulous amount. Nidus is, well, the creep being pushed back for now. The Venn diagram of freedom overlapping. And the Vipers, though, can pull some of this out as long as the Ghosts don't get the EMPs first. Yanks out some of the Liberators. 2, 3 more. Pin cushions yet another one. The Vipers gets one last Liberator. Easily dismantles it. And Rogue with 5,000 minerals, 1,700 gas, though he just dipped into it a slight bit in order to refill with Zerglings. A tactical Nidus on the way, just filling in the network until just a couple lurkers, just one badly hurt. No, why not? Sure, just something to keep him busy over to the right side. Well, over to the left as well. A Nidus at the very back, constantly sending overlords. He's acting like a brutal campaign mission right now, more like nightmare mode, as it seems like he has constant vision. And that's simply because he does. The Zerglings are everywhere. The Changelings are covering the front. The Overlord's at the back. He's dragging units back with the Nidus, but that's another 10-15 supply that can't fight him on the field. He has to have these units back at home, because a Nidus with lurkers in it could end the game. But ByuN, he lifts an orbital command. The Banelings roll in. The planetary rolls out. You can't explain that. Meanwhile, pincushions, yet another set of Liberators. Mans the harpoons with the Vipers and yanks them away. And the front line has been dismantled yet again, as ByuN has been beaten back several times now. His bank is dwindling. His supply as well. Rogue has survived the economic boom of the early game and is slowly but surely whittling ByuN down. The Ghost count is at 4. The Liberator count at 8. He's building 4 at a time. Very notably, only +1 flyer attack. And there's only 1 Spire for Rogue. So if the Liberator count gets to uncomfortable proportions, which I would say is double digits, the Changelings all dying en masse. How many Overseers does he have now? 10? And counting. Still trying the Changelings, but honestly at this point having more is possibly... The creep is encroaching on the base. But the most important base on the map is this left corner. And there's a Widowmine guarding it. A Liberator will discourage any activities out of that Nidus worm. A Nidus defense team is picked up. 4 more command centers ByuN. He has 11 orbital commands, but another wave will roll in. And another planetary will be brought low. But I think at this point, there are just too many some Zerglings get through the Nidus. The Liberators will be taken out, as ByuN had nothing left underneath. A more costly fight for Rogue, but he can afford it. He's saving for next game at this point. As ByuN, after getting swept off the field multiple times, is unable to retake any semblance of map control. Rogue has finally cleared up the Widowmine at the gold base. ByuN is at 450 average actions per minute. Rogue still at about 390. He's been playing at the same speed all game. He's in cruise control, and his control is more than good enough. More orbitals on the way. He's going to 12 orbital commands. He can scan this and the next map simultaneously and still have some energy left over. Unfortunately, what he's going to see with those scans is way too much to deal with. He has to clear the creep tumors because he can't land his rich Vespene base. The Hydraslings and Banes will overrun it yet again. But ByuN just won't die. 46 SCVs. And when you have more, at this point, that's really all you need. He could drop mules to mine out most of the rest. And indeed he is. As the income gap is closed and some more mule canyons have been carved out. Rogue does have to be a little bit careful. He only has 1,000 gas in the bank. So with the newest patch, the overall patch, unchanged, there's less gas in the geysers. Each gas geyser has 2250, but now only has 2,000. That's over 10% less gas in total on the entire map. And I'll tell you, you can feel it. Especially when you go to this sort of late game. Both as Terran and as Zerg. But you can definitely feel it. And those banelings become even more costly when you consider it. So 18 more SCVs dead. The ByuN is at 155 army supply. He's building 9 SCVs at a time. He scans in order to make sure there are no Zerglings left behind. But these are the ones he has to keep in mind. But so far, he's not seen even a single sign. Nothing to draw a line to the Zerglings buried for since almost the beginning of time. Well, with this much army supply to throw around, he's going for it. He yanks in some more Liberators. These ones. Oh, Baneling's gonna chunk through some of the Marauders. +2 flyer attack is finally completing as he's considering he might need some Corruptors to knock out the Liberators. Another stable of mules will drop. And, well, here we go again. And it's getting more important to hold the line. ByuN, the Liberators, the Venn diagram of freedom is holding the planetary, keeping things at bay. EMP misses the mark. But ByuN is one fight from being broken. Rogue has taken so much of the map. ByuN is mining out. The main base is dry. The natural's completely gone. The third base not looking good either. He goes towards the front. The Liberators, Widowmine gets a huge hit. EMP on some of the Vipers. And, well, a parasitic bomb drives ByuN back. The Liberators rattling out of the starports. He may finally scan accidentally, but the Zerglings and Banelings have driven him all the way back. But a counterattack over to the left side. The Hydras are nowhere to be seen. They're off to the right. It's just an orbital command. And for now, ByuN will be forced to pick up and back off. He's down to 34 SCVs. But Rogue? Well, he's down to 400 gas in the bank. So with all these Liberators and a planetary fortress backstopping him, ByuN actually may be able to grind out a stable position. As the Liberators are just too much. Rogue loses another hatchery. He's gonna come down the center. Another wave of Banelings. He just spent every last drop of Vespene gas on Banelings. It's gone! And what's left? He sieges up. Oh, sweet liberty. But does he have enough? I think we just crossed a threshold here. Well, there's 2 important points. 1, Rogue just ran out of gas, but 2, Rogue took ByuN's base. The counterattack forced Rogue back, and he doesn't have the gold, but he's mining from what should be ByuN's side of the map. Very clearly, if we were to slice things in half. But some halves are more equal than others, and sometimes they have to be, as ByuN just will not die. And now Rogue is in a weird situation. He's in quite a quandary, as he really only has minerals left to deal with it. He still has a lot of gas mining, but not as much as he'd like. He's mined out of 5 bases, 6 bases of gas. He's mined 19,000 total, and he's spent pretty much all of it. All those Banelings, which don't show up in the units, well, 179 do. And there were even more built, because only ones that attack, or ones that die before attacking show up there. The Liberators yanked out, yet again. But the Liberators are forcing the Vipers to use their energy on the Abducts. Not that it's free to build Liberators, absolutely not. But he's gonna... The Overseers, they also cost gas. The Hydras are driven back yet again. The Vipers, not quite enough energy for Blinding Cloud. The Queen's still respreading creep. There's still 6 Liberators in production. There's still 2 Zerglings scouting every single thing, as well as the Zerglings right outside the front. I feel like Rogue has not creep spread because these Zerglings are more valuable than having creep in that location. Loses another hatch. But, well, with the Ghosts lining up their shots and whittling away the Hydras, another wave of Banelings. Over to the left, just Zerglings might not be enough to break this. The Banelings are rolling in, but the Widowmine actually connects on the Overseers, which means the Banelings survive for now. Things getting really sloppy as both sides are starting to run out of resources. Rogue still has plenty more to work with, and that hatch finally goes down. The command center's down the center. There's still 10 orbital commands. The Overseers are starting to be knocked out of the sky. Rogue is supply blocked. At 167 over 164, he's lost 11 Overseers, which adds to the tally of gas he must spend. He's got 15 Overlords in production, which is certainly an interesting situation. 27 minutes in the game. Thankfully for ByuN, command centers are a big chunk of his supply, so supply depots are almost obsolete. Did you know there were rocks there? I've never seen anyone take those down. I think it was mostly accidental. More Liberators yanked out. How many 41 Liberators dead. And we're not done yet, but the Viper's almost out of energy. The Ghost lining up some shots. The Widow Mine's covering the retreat. But many of the Ghosts gonna go down. A planetary fortress was built on the field. The planetary holds the line against the Hydras, and that makes it that much harder. He drops another wave of mules, and ByuN is stepping across the map, and Rogue is out of money. Oh no, it's a disaster. Rogue has been playing the war of attrition this entire time. And that works great until the money runs low. Now, the fact no one has been able to maintain the gold base. I think Rogue mined it for a minute or two. But the fact that Rogue is mining from the base right outside of ByuN's, that one is clearly supposed to be ByuN's base if we were cutting the map in half. But he clearly does not have access to it at the moment. So Rogue still has, well, wow, as the seismograph of income gets more and more stable, as the mineral patches get less and less numerous. Rogue is still mining from 3 bases, whereas ByuN is mining from maybe 1.5. But very quickly, through all the fire and fury, the real MVPs, the Zerglings. All right. Of course, Alexandrius and Pooped. Twins in the egg. Very different personalities. Both stuck here. Until possibly the end of the game. And it's unclear which end that's going to be. As Rogue has been playing Hydraling Bane Viper the entire time, and ByuN has been making an increasingly cost-effective composition. He's got 18 Marauders leading the charge. The Widow Mine's taken out. The Medevac's caught out in front. But he's saving the energy for the Liberators. Parasitic Bomb! The Medevac's dragging the damage through the Liberators, and most of them going to be taken down. Oh no, he did not quarantine the Medevacs in time. He lifts another one of his 10 orbital commands. And Rogue, well, the fact that he's mining from this is entirely... The mules are dropping literally on every possible mineral patch. He needs to stop Rogue from mining this base. There's a scan. At some point, hostile mining might be the way. Dropping mules. But ByuN's gonna make a play. The army supplies are about as close to even as they've been for quite a while. Rogue making another round of Banelings. The first 200 didn't get it done, but maybe the next 200 will. The Widow Mine's thinning things out. The Overseers being knocked out of the sky. And it's not enough. The Vipers, they pull the Liberators out of siege mode, and they just re-siege as the Hydra count drops too low. But the Medevac's being taken out seems to have significant repercussions, as another wave of Lings and Banes is trickling down. The Marines and Marauders were unable to heal, and the Ghosts can't stim until the next hotfix. The Hydras will lunge forward. The Banelings around the corner. Retargets the Widow Mine. Knocks out the Banes. Takes a couple Ghosts with it. The supplies dwindling. But no Overseers means that he can't detect the Widow Mine. And he didn't kill the hatchery. Again, the supplies dwindling. Rogue. Well, he's coming in for another round. He keeps making the Hydra Slings and Banes because he can't keep his foot off the gas. But it costs so much gas in order to keep his foot there. The Ghost caught in front. Another Ghost dead. Widow Mine's doing not so friendly fire. A couple dragged out onto the Banelings. We'll clean them up. And still, the gold base remains pristine throughout all of this. The Widow Mine takes out another Hydra. The drones are still mining. The scan, a Vendaya scan even, out in front. The snipes on some of the... There's no more banelings. One rolls down the speed zone. The Marines are standing their ground. The Widow Mines are untouched. ByuN retreating back. And the Widow Mines make him pay an iron price. The banelings coming in. The Queens. The Queens. Brenda, why is this our job? Because there's no one left to do it, Susan. They're all dead. Okay, calm down. No! Every last one. How many Zerg? I can't count that high. Okay, you need to take a different tone. Sorry. The Infestor! A single fungal to rule them all! And from the darkness bind them. A single Infestor unburrows, and with it, ByuN is put in the ground like the Infestor was. That one Infestor, as Rogue rediscovers, he whips out his Prima strategy guide. He's old enough to know what that is. He whips out the Prima strategy guide. He says, what unit haven't I built? And there's actually quite a list. ByuN is mining from the gold, but not for long. That one fungal breaking the critical mass of Terran, and ByuN is completely and utterly mined out. Because in this day and age, you don't beat Terran, you just survive them. And I believe Rogue has survived ByuN. He is long-distance mining off the gold base, though those mules will not be able to return their gold minerals, and they don't mine more from the gold than they do from the other patches. But, oh no, he lost the hatch. Well, there are still minerals on the map, which means ByuN is not dead yet. Well, after 984 Zerglings, 279 banelings at least, 100 Hydralisks, ByuN has lost 51 Liberators, 85 Widow Mines, 230 Marines, 6 Lurkers on the way. He has the Infestors. It would take a minor miracle in order to hold this for ByuN. But he does have mules, which is a minor at least. A miracle remains to be seen. The Lurkers, a strong choice at this late hour. GG! And after all of that, after 34 minutes, Rogues won. ByuN unable to capitalize on his arguable victories. Rogue unable to capitalize really until the very end. Well, I think you can clearly see the effect the 300 Mineral Command Center. It doesn't make it. It doesn't make Terran overpowered. It just makes them unkillable. Rogue. Now, you might be like, why didn't he just go for Infestors earlier? If he goes for Infestors while ByuN still has any money, then ByuN plays much more defensive. And he gets EMPs. And they cost so much gas that Rogue was struggling for. Okay. Now, if you've watched any of my streams on Winter Gaming TV, where I play at a much lower level, but still near Grandmaster as Terran and Zerg, a lot closer as Terran lately, it feels like you can't die as Terran. That's how it feels. I'm just telling you how I feel as a person who actually plays the game. You might not be able to beat Zerg because your hands are too slow and your brain has a delay. You guessed it right. I'm from NA. But it's hard to die. When you can lose 20 SCVs and drop another round of mules, when you can scan whenever things look a little tough, the sheer number, the sheer economic boon of the orbital commands is... No, this patch change is absolutely ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Yes, I know Zerg just won. Yes, YouTube comments. I know. Did Rogue deserve to win earlier? I'm just going to say it. Yes, absolutely. But the very simple fact is, you cannot reliably end the game against ghosts that cannot be interrupted on snipe. or killing bases does not matter much when they're so easy to replace. And unless you're able to kill the ghosts, which is significantly harder to do. Now, I don't think that Terran should go just straight up nerfed. I do agree. Here is the pain point of Terran. I'm telling you, if I was the intern, which you clearly know I'm not based on all of these changes. If I was the intern, here's what I would do. Buff the Hellbat. What is the major pain point I'm saying as a mediocre Terran player? And I think ByuN could have used as well in that game. Dealing with swarms of units in the mid-game. One misstep and the Banelings kill it all. Hellbats should not be light units. A unit that's almost as chonky as your mother should not be considered a light unit. Maybe make the transform time from Hellions to Hellbats long. It doesn't necessarily need to be counter-nerfed, but the Hellbat has been changed once in Legacy of the Void. The Widowmine has been changed 11 times. The Cyclone has been changed 16 times. All right, that's not a fucking joke. There's been 16 patch notes for the Cyclone in Legacy of the Void. I am not joking. I'm surprised we didn't rework it with this patch. The Ghost is at about 9, I think. I don't know that number. The Hellbat has been nerfed once. That's it. It's been nerfed to do less damage against light with upgrades. It no longer one-shot Zerglings when it has +3 mech weapons. I think the Hellbat is clearly and obviously placed as a unit that, 1, could use a buff, 2, isn't bullshit like the Widowmine. Everyone hates the Widowmine. And it's too good and also too bad all at the same time. It's clunky to use and clunkier to play against. It's not fun. Okay, it serves it serves an important purpose. The Hellbat should be the anti-ground unit. It's a flamethrower mech. Why is that not the... So, here's what happens when you change the Hellbat to not being light. Just no tag. The Colossus does less damage. The Baneling does less damage. The two hardest counters and the reason why Hellbats are kind of mediocre to be used as part of ByuN. You know, I feel like ByuN may show... I did not see this series. I just saw ByuN versus Rogue, and I'll be honest, that last game took almost a full kilobyte. I did not know who won, but the game itself took a full kilobyte in replay files. For reference, most replay files are between 150 and 300, even in pretty dramatic games. So, I know just based on the file size. Anyways... ByuN's going mech. And, you know, if he makes Hellbats and they work, does that prove my point? Or if you buff Hellbats, it gives Terran a stronger mid-game. The reason why Terran economy feels so weak is because there is no mid-game that doesn't involve having Clem Micro. We saw ByuN there just lose his entire advantage to Banelings in seconds. That's partially on him. That was just a big mistake. But I don't think the entirety of Terran should rely on having a split second of micro. Hellbats are cool, somewhat ironically. And they should be a stronger part. So if you make them not light units, they synergize so well as well. It's not like they wouldn't be vulnerable to Banelings, they just wouldn't get hard countered. They get healed by Medivacs. I don't even understand why that works. Okay, they have 2 legs, you can heal it. Why can't you heal a Thor? Anyways, I don't care. That's fine. And Hellbat pushes are annoying, but they are a direct response. Hellbats. That's what we buff, and that is the pain point of Terran. We keep fucking around with the economy. We keep trying to fix the 8-worker start, which is an unforced error. And that's why... Now, once again, there's no actual explanation provided besides calibrating against Zerg with the newest hotfix. Yes, I'm ranting, and we're going to continue. He is going battle mech, so we're going to see how this one works out. He's going Hell Clones, which I don't think I've seen. But he already has 3 orbital commands. And if he kills any drones, well, he's going to lose his Hellions here, which is not the ideal move. Rogue. 3 drones for, what, 6 Hellions? Yeah, not worth it. I'm telling you. Terrans. Stick with me. Okay? I know 300 mineral command center feels good. It's really dumb. It's really dumb. The larva change was also really dumb. It's fixing a problem that didn't exist 2 months ago. Like, the larva change at least makes some sense. I say yes, I'm a biased Zerg. It makes some sense because Zerg is the swarm. Their units suck, relatively. Sometimes literally. We saw the Vipers. But 300, it doesn't make any sense for the command center to be less than. Instead, make it so Terran can actually move out without being afraid for their lives the moment they step foot outside. Metaphorically, not physically. I would never go outside. That's why I do sit-down comedy on the internet. Like and subscribe. Anyways, the first push coming in. Hell clones ready. And the beauty of the stuff. Rant over. Buff Hellbats. Stop messing around with the economy. I would just revert it to 12 workers and keep the rest of the changes, because honestly, they're kind of interesting, but it's getting overshadowed by breaking the economy. Oh yeah, and the gas reduction is actually good, I think. That's actually the only thing that affects the late game, like we saw last game. And I think the reduction in the gas gathers is the only economic change that has had a positive design effect. Anyways, I've spoken. And now I'll continue to do so, but more directly about this game. Hell clones. So usually the struggle with going mech, taking us to McDonald's over here, is the overhead cost of building 5 factories and a couple armories and getting any upgrades. You got to spend like 700, 800, 900 Vespene gas just before the army comes online. Compared to Marines and Marauders, which is probably 300, 400 for upgrades and tech labs and such. Well, ByuN already has that 3rd command center. He's ahead on workers, despite killing very few. He's been able to take some... He went command center first, by the way, but he's been able to take map control with the Hell clones up against mass Zerg. Well, here's the thing. It's very hard to scout that they're going for mech until after it's already too late. If you go for overlord speed, you've just spent a bunch of gas. So the roaches and the Zerglings and all this is coming online significantly later. I do love the birds. Okay, I absolutely love them. They're my favorite part of what we've seen today by a large margin. The scan passed. 4th command center is finishing up for ByuN. Rogue has been sitting on 65 workers. He needs to kill this army. And the Zerglings looking for the wraparound don't quite get the full flank with the Zerglings. And now they're caught between Blue Flame Hellions on either side. Baneling speed is not done, and Rogue is on the run. Certainly not having any fun. And ByuN, well, he'll continue compounding his advantage as he has the workers, and these units aren't all going to die to Banelings. I mean, the Hellions might, but there's a changeling in there. He should know that's not part of the army, because there are no Marines at all in the army. That's one easy way to pick out the changelings. Though surprisingly, he didn't. An Infestor is on the way. Rogue is trying to squeak out a few more drones. 3 factories in production. He's going to the Octofact. You've seen the Octo-Rex. But the weapons of mass production now. The Industrial Revolution that is happening in ByuN space. He's adding in some siege tanks as well. He prioritized the armor upgrades because the damage from Hell clones is mostly based on their upgrade, like their basic upgrades. Oh, looks the other way. The Fungal catches a single Cyclone and a couple Hellions, but meanwhile, in the middle of the map, gonna lose the siege tanks and the Cyclones as well. Rogue dragging down these units and ripping them to shreds, I say. But the Cyclone's still trading well enough. ByuN has 87 workers, which is actually too many. Burrowing some Zerglings throughout. The Blue Flame Hellions are helping, but the Banelings are closing in. Now, a very key point that is just as relevant in this sort of matchup as it was in the previous game. Banelings cost gas. Hellions do not. Which means, now, while Banelings are not light units, they have so little HP they feel like it. That's the difference. But, oh, and a Baneling mine for Rogue against, well, I guess... against the Hellions themselves. 5 Banelings. Is that enough to kill a Cyclone? I have absolutely no idea. Anyways, Ultraless Cavern and a Spire on the way as Rogue is reaching for the entirety of Hive Tech. Whereas ByuN is suffering from success. He has 93 SCVs. That is too many. Like, his army supply is actually so low that he's going to be in the kind of the same scenario that Rogue was last game, where it's going to be incredibly difficult to outright end the game because he just doesn't have enough army to do so. Well, the Hell Clones. The Greater Spire is on the way. Meanwhile, the Fusion Core and double starport with reactor. So Mass Liberator is on the agenda. Changelings taken out. There's that contagious damage. 5 commands. Yeah. It's going to be Infestor Broodlord, which is an age-old counter to the mech. Of course, well, there's the Neural Parasites. Curious choice to go for that instead of the Fungal, unfortunately. Another Infestor will unburrow. Gonna try to catch him around the corner, but by the time he does, it's gonna cost a whole lot of Zerglings. ByuN, well, the Infestor's doing a great job, but wait, there's more. 6 command centers on the way as he chases things down. He's going to have, what, 10, 11 command centers? He, once again, heading towards multiple command centers per minute. Meanwhile, the Infestor's threatening with a Fungal, which means that the Hellions and Cyclones need to back off. 7 Broodlords on the way, just almost the moment the Corruptors came out of the eggs. They're getting promoted to Broodlords. All right, royalty, typical. Meanwhile, the burrowed Zerglings are just perfect. He finally scans. Honestly, building the Infestors was the mistake. All right. Building the Infestors and trying to use them burrowed is why these Zerglings are getting scanned. But ByuN, building forward missile turrets, because why scan when you could just build turrets everywhere? The Broodlords are going to try to break through, but he actually just locks on with the Cyclones. The Fungal going to keep him at bay. The Liberators are sieging the back line. There's 4 Thors, and however many years ago that the Terrans decided that Goliaths were cool enough, and instead we got to build a big-ass robot. And, well, they call that raising the bar, but unfortunately, it takes so long to... Oh, no. The Liberators just pin cushioning on the other side. 10 drones dead. Apparently, pin cushioning is my favorite word today. Jimmy, jot that down. We're never going to say it again after today. I can't commit to that. Put a pin in it. The Thors and Vikings. The Nordic mythology composition. And the Broodlords just knocked out of the sky. Thinned out by the Cyclones and knocked out by the Vikings and Thors, who just obliterate them. The Liberator, making him pay quite a toll on his way out. Down goes the Overseer as well. Ultras and Infestors are in production. And Neural Parasite, well, if you can't beat them, sometimes it's better to borrow them. Neural Parasite, an existential threat to the Thors, as they are a great counter to Thors and Liberators. And with the Ultras and Lings to cover, that may very well be the best opportunity here for Rogue. Wow, that is quite a mule peak. Rogue getting denied. Well, that was partially all of the Liberator. Well, 2 or 3 bases sieged up by Liberators simultaneously forced Rogue to almost entirely stop mining for like 30 seconds. Nah, no, stop that. Stop. Go. Well, where are you going to go now? Yikes. How many Zerglings did he just lose? Was that 80, 86? 102 for 3 siege tanks. Rogue, I don't know what he thought when he started going in there, but not very hard, apparently. It was questionable with 1 planetary. There were 2 planetaries, multiple tanks, and the entire army. I'm not sure what he expected to accomplish. And it wasn't like he was freeing up supply. He's broke. And at 184, it does feel like the Broodlords were the big play. And this game, he's no Shakespeare. The Cyclones and the Hellbats. But, well, Cyclones are a pretty good counter to Hellbats. Now, he does have to actually kill them. Unfortunately, this means the rest of the army, much of the rest of the army is out of position. Most importantly, the Infestors. The Scan. He has 10 orbital commands, so keeping vision is not going to be a big issue. Ultras. What? Ultras? The Cyclones. Well, he gets a Neural Parasite on a Cyclone. There's not enough energy for Neural Parasite on anything else because he used it on the other Cyclones. So, well, he might have one in a moment. The Zerglings are the wraparound. He gets one Thor. And that might be enough. That one Thor plus the Zerglings is enough to break the back of this push. Though there's still no answer to the Liberators, which are denying mining. So the Zerglings will swim? Kind of feel like a water creature for some reason. Will swing around. There's no building armor for ByuN, which means the Cracklings with their... They do have Adrenal Glands, right? Yeah, of course. Will be enough to break through. Building armor actually makes a huge difference against specifically Zerglings, of course. The Cyclones will lock on and knock out the Ultras. And +3 attack upgrades are now complete. But make no mistake, well, ByuN... Oh. Stand right there. He uses a Neural Parasite on the Liberator and will try to kill it. Doesn't quite do so. ByuN actually lost a ton of SCVs, which frees up way more space for army supply. And now, while the supplies were close for a moment, that moment has passed. He has the mules. He has the mining. Like, honestly, ByuN had way too many SCVs. Rogue is continually borrowing some units to complement his unit composition. Oh no, he handed them back! No, don't give them back! Neural Parasite, not exactly the most user-friendly tool. As the Ultras just keep getting... not pincushioned. Keep getting impaled by the Liberators and their massive shots that just punch right through the armor. And the Liberators, it ain't it. ByuN has had the economic lead in the map control for the overwhelming majority of this game. Fuck that.
Assimilation complete.
That looks like the play percentage of the Terran race since the last patch. I know. That's not true. Terran has always been the most played because everyone, like about 50% of bronze, silver, and gold are Terran. I meant, you know, above the medal. Anyways, yeah. ByuN just stiff arms Rogue. Now, when Rogue was able to borrow some of those well-positioned Terran units, it looked a little closer. But the Broodlords do nothing. The Ultras were optimistic. The Zerglings were not nearly enough. And once ByuN lost enough SCVs to have a real army, well, imagine if the Hellbats were buffed. Okay, key point. In my hypothetical scenario about Hellbats being buffed, we don't have 300 mineral command centers. All right? They are a mid-game buff for Terran against both Zerg and Protoss. So that way, they don't require quite as strong of an economy that outstrips even a Zerg. Just to be clear. But yeah, that game was trending in a certain direction for the last about 8 minutes or so. And it is almost impossible against that unit composition. Like, Cyril might win that game in 30 more minutes with Infestor Broodlord. But when a Terran has those mech upgrades with that composition, and you're struggling to put 10 Broodlords on the field, it's just a long death animation. Now you might be like, wasn't that ByuN in game 1? Except ByuN still had a chance to win. Right up until the very bitter end. Yeah, this is a big whiny cast. I'm sorry. A little sorry, actually. I don't like coming off like that. But I have strong feelings. I want to make it clear that I don't think Terran necessarily just get nerfed. But we're targeting the wrong... It's just the wrong things. We can't... you can't just mess with the economy, cut out a third of the workers, and magically somehow everything works out. So far, we've done like the larva changes, the cost of a bunch of different things, the warp. It's too much. All right, it might be fun for a month or two, but for those of us who actually play the game, which is an increasingly low number apparently, it's too much. And there's no method to the madness. It's just, here's a hot fix where we change the base cost of the base. The most important part of the game. Like, quite literally. Anyways. Namaste. Reaper expand. Not going with the command center first. Rogue with your hatchery first into gas pool. You know, it is a bit interesting how many people complain about the larva when you can bank up 10 mules and drop... Did you know you can't even use more than 8 mules, really? So mules have their own mineral saturation. They're so good because they mine over the top of SCVs, but they will not mine over the top of other mules. So if you drop more than 8 at a base, it's actually inefficient. But then again, if you have more than 8 to drop, it's kind of like having larva, isn't it? Or warpins for your economy. Anyways, drone dead. Reaper. The Zerglings, out of frustration, will attack their own hatchery. Rogue trying to avoid stretching into a spore or something to save the day. But the Reaper, ByuN trying to get it nerfed again. Doubt it will. Gets a kill. Wow, he's gonna go for the Overlord. Hey. No, I will not tell your wife anything. Well, I might. Alright. ByuN commits to killing the Overlord. Oof. The most obvious pervert pillar there, but still, we'll delay the tech lab somewhat. He did go for 2 Marines, which slightly delays the Hellions as well. It's likely going to be bio. And also interesting, he hasn't added a third... What? He just realized he had a... The barracks was right there. Reaper mauled for its transgressions. And those slightly delayed Hellions, costing him the Reaper. Spoke Banshee on the way. No third command center for ByuN. Very notable on all fronts. Hellions thinking about running by. Stim is already on the way. Is ByuN going for a 2-base timing? As there's really... Yeah, there we are. Barracks number 2. And Barracks 3 in production. So it is going to be a medevac aggression build. where he focuses on getting as much pressure as early as possible. Rogue, I think, well set to potentially defend it. Or at least with a decent economy behind. What? A Raven? Huh. A Raven after 2 Banshees? After just 1 Banshee. And he canceled Cloak to build said Raven. And now he's building for... ByuN just swerving around the tech tree at the moment. Trading off the reactor and the tech lab for the starport. And building up... Alright, so he's going to have a Raven. Where are we going? Up and down and pushing here, all around. Okay. Alright, so the barracks have their reactors. The starport is building one. As building reactor and medevacs when you have like 6 Marines is clearly not very efficient. The Raven being added on. The Banshee doesn't get any kills. It's coming back home. It does feel like ByuN has gone 2 different directions with this build and decided, actually, I wanted the first one. Meanwhile, the Queen's gonna repel the Raven. Rogue up to 57 drones and counting. He's got the Baneling Nest about to finish up. Baneling speed, I imagine, will be very quick on the agenda. And Rogue actually building a lot of extra drones here. Getting over 62 drones. He totally thinks ByuN has a 3rd command center. Which, he needed to start Baneling speed yesterday. This could be deadly. 5 more overlords on the way. The Hellions rotating around. And every second he doesn't start Baneling speed is another second that this push out will become more and more deadly. ByuN, still no 3rd command center. They're talking about the cost, but he's focused everything on this. Baneling speed begins. This is a very late push out, but he's done everything he could to deny scouting, deny creep. There's Zerglings on the way. The thing is, Rogue already has the drone count you'd want just in general. So even though this might come as a surprise, he was already going to be building units at this point in the game. You don't go past 70 drones until you see a command center landed, unless you're suicidal. I don't think Rogue's quite there. Oh no, the Zerg rocks! 30 HP, but they won't bleed out until somebody taps them on the shoulder. The 4th base is under fire. 12 Hydras on the way. A huge amount of Zerglings, but ByuN has +1 attack. The 4th base should be taken out. The Zergling swinging back home. +2 Carapace and +1 ranged attack on the way. Spots the Hydras. But remember, again, this is a 2-base timing out of ByuN. He needs to get more. It's not enough. And Rogue is clearly aware of that. Is there an armory? No. He just... Well, stop listening. I didn't... Armory starts. 2nd engineering bay. But... And he has a huge army supply, but Rogue is closing in. He's got Bane speed. He's going to have +2 Carapace. There's a very nasty tank position he could take here. You can use your medevacs to lift tanks behind this mineral line. Ask me how I know. Or just watch the stream. It's absolutely disgusting. ByuN, it would be negligence if he doesn't use that position. Like, literally right here. Okay, ByuN. Rotating around. The tanks will siege. The auto turrets are whipped out. The Marines out in front. +2 Carapace is done. ByuN, the target fire is good. The Banelings trickling through. Not enough. And the Hydras will hold the line. Ah, this is... ByuN had a double drop on the other side. Splitting his forces. And the Banelings will roll through at the last second and clear things up. ByuN committed to the 2-base timing. But Rogue has enough economy. All he needs to do is just continue producing. If ByuN doesn't have a 3rd base, that's all that matters. And Rogue has correctly recognized that. He's got +1 mech weapons on the way. Which is quite a commitment for someone who's starting to mine out of his main base. Put those tanks on the high ground ByuN. I do not believe that ByuN doesn't know about that location. It's absolutely a disgusting spot. But he's gonna attack in the banelings. Rogue is only attacking from one angle. There is a carapace advantage here as the banelings roll by, making sure they're on move command. And ByuN, diminishing returns. I am somewhat confounded by the choice to go for the 2-base timing, which seems to run counter. Well, I guess I'll generously say this is testing what you can get done and what you can't. As while the Wardy Monday is prestigious, it isn't necessarily the most high-profile or high-stakes tournament. So I think both these players definitely trying to see what they could get away with and how the new patch is affecting things. Though, it is a little bit disappointing to see ByuN completely crush it with a mech build and then abandon the idea entirely to go back for 2-base Marine tank. There's still a chance here. Because it is 2-base Marine tank and it's always dangerous. He's working on 2-2. But Rogue, he's got 69 drums, which is a very nice place to be. He has 2-2 upgrades for Hydras of all things. And ByuN seems increasingly desperate to try to win by dropping the base. Rogue just has to survive. All right, this is not like game 1 where he needs to challenge the bases. He's so far ahead at this point. It's looking more one-sided than a Mobius strip, but there's no banelings. He finally finds some. The Spore Crawler is in a premium position here. Loses another medevac. The army supply is still dangerously close to even. The +2 upgrades, the Liberator's just taken out, but there's so many Marines. There's one siege tank to fall back to, and it's going to be incredibly important. What is this? Did he drop it again? Just a single Marine in the main. And ByuN, he lifted his main command center to the 3rd, which means he has a bit of a lifeline. Okay, that's a changeling. I thought... Spore Crawler taken out. But Rogue... come on in. It's 145 to 196 supply. It's another round of Marine tank. And if Rogue was stingy on the banelings, there might be a chance. He has not been stingy on the banelings. 45 of them. These rocks have still not been taken down. He finally opens it up, gets to the tank on the high ground. All right, to the ends of the earth, but that's just too many Banes. He stands, he fights, he dies. Rogue 2, ByuN 1. An interesting exchange. ByuN certainly testing the limits and lack thereof of the new command center. Rogue treading water most of the time, but still clearly, Rogue has really found a resurgence in the last couple months, before and after the patch especially, and proving he's the most adaptable Zerg, at least until Dark comes back later this year. He's already confirmed it. So, Hellbats, not CCs. Maybe not the most catchy slogan. We'll work on it. Fire, not fury. A little better. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Still, some fun games. And hopefully they made your day at least a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. Make sure to check out the second channel, Winter Gaming TV, for streams and even more content. But if you're content with this, that's amazing as well. Liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our Mule-tier patrons, Big Jake and Devin Door, Kate, Crazy Mouse, Mario Suit. Glad you still enjoy. Make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. Well, everyone, not just the patrons, but you know. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.